High tech, low tech, or no tech. Through our hobbies and our passions, the geek comes out in us all.
The world's of geekdom.
I am a geek and I'm proud of it.
Geeks.
Geeks unite.
Well, let's get those nerds! Nerds! No!
Did you just call me a nerd?
Not all geeks are nerds.
Yeah.
This is Geek Therapy Radio.
What are we waiting for?
And now your mental curator, Johnny Hamburger.
Welcome to Geek Therapy Radio. I'm Johnny Hamburger, your mental curator this week and all weeks here on GTR. And I used this term last week. I'm twitching my britches because I'm so excited for my guest I have on, who you probably heard her laugh in the background there just a second ago. It's Sarah from Imgur. Sarah, I have probably said your last name 3 different ways over the past 2 weeks. I want to say it's Schaaf. Is that?
Yes, you nailed it.
Awesome. I feel
stitches my britches when someone gets that right.
Stitches britches. Let's talk about pants for this entire segment. No. So Sarah, I guess just say what's your position over at Imgur? By the way, first of all, I'm sure lots of people listening right now have probably spent a lot of time on Imgur. It's one of those websites that where your boss comes in, you lower the tab. I have the benefit of working at a radio station to where we don't really have any blocked sites. So YouTube's not blocked, Imgur's not blocked, social media's not blocked, because since it's a new station, those are all good sources of news as they happen. So Sarah, what's your role there at Imgur.com?
So my role at Imgur is VP of Community, which essentially means that it's my responsibility to make sure that the users of our site, aka our community, are happy, are in the know about what's going on at Imgur. They feel empowered to, test new features, use the site to its full capability, and essentially be that liaison between company and community.
Yeah, she's definitely the most famous Sarah on the site. And by the way, you spell Imgur Imgur. It kind of
That's correct.
There's been lots of debate on the site within itself. How do you pronounce Imgur? Is it Imgur? Imgur? I say Imgur. Let's settle it right now.
The official word.
Yes.
So it actually is pronounced Imgur, but spelled Imgur. So obviously can't really put too much blame on people if they're saying Imgur or something else like that.
You know what? As long as they're going to the site, there's another debate on Imgur and other websites as well on how you pronounce .gif. I say that it's pronounced GIF because it's a graphic graphic. Oh my goodness. I just blanked out. Graphic interface.
Graphics interchange format.
Yeah, that's right. Graphics interchange format, and it's a hard G in graphics, so it's GIF. But what do you think?
This is a bold move, getting this controversial tidbit right in the beginning there.
Yeah.
I actually say GIF.
Oh no!
Don't hate me.
No one can hate you. I understand why you would say GIF. It's because apparently the creator of the graphics interchange format said officially it's pronounced GIF. But I think he was just trolling. I think he knew about the hot debate, and he knew how it's actually pronounced, which 50% of people say GIF, 50% GIF, and those who say GIF will sometimes argue that the creator himself pronounces it GIF, and I say the creator is just a troll. He knows that it's pronounced GIF, but Imgur is one of those great websites. Go on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just saying, I feel like I can empathize with that guy who says his thing is pronounced GIF and people still say GIF. It's like I say it's pronounced Imgur, but people still say Imgur. Or maybe I'm just trolling.
That's true. Who knows? That's up for people in the comments below if they're listening to this podcast. If they're listening to the podcast, which I know a lot of them are, you can't really comment below radio. If you're listening to this Saturday night here in Houston, you can't comment below, but you can go, get the podcast, go listen to it, and comment below. What do you pronounce it, GIF or GIF? Imgur, even though we heard from Sarah's own mouth that it's pronounced Imgur. That's the beauty of social websites. Would you consider Imgur to be more of a social website? But how does it differentiate from Facebook, basically?
So Imgur is an entertainment destination that's powered by its users again being the community. So it's these users who are creating the content, finding the content, sharing it back to Imgur in the form of posts. So a post is just, as you know, several images, GIFs, videos. It can be put together and have text and links and titles. They take that post that they've created, share it back, and then the community, which is comprised of a bunch of strangers from all over the world, sort of decide through their upvotes and downvotes which of those posts deserve to sort of get the most distribution. And the way that posts get distribution is by being upvoted to what we call most viral, or the front page, which is sort of the most popular area of Imgur, where posts can be seen by all types of people. And so we feel this is different from a Facebook or an Instagram, because the content that you're seeing is truly democratically chosen by all types of different people, really outside of your friends list.
Correct.
Whereas, on your Facebooks, that is really just algorithmically tailored content just for you based on the things that you've said, either the people that you follow or, I don't know, the pages that you like.
Yeah.
And so on Imgur, we're really sort of breaking you outside of that friends list. And though it is social in the sense that this is people and they're interacting with one another and they're voting and they're commenting, it really is just a pseudo-anonymous type of thing, meaning it's just a username.
Right.
You can choose to be your real self. I happen to be Sarah on there. Or you can be anybody you want to be.
Yeah.
I think that's what sort of really sets us apart.
That's what I really like about the website. It's social, but it's not like social media social. Like you said, it's very democratic. It doesn't matter what side of, let's say, the political spectrum you're on. Either you like the post, you like what the person is offering, or you don't. It's not to your taste, and basically the community decides. And I've long since maintained that sometimes all the times, my favorite part of Imgur isn't just the website itself, isn't just the viral images or user sub or anything like that, but the comments below the posts can be and sometimes are way better than the posts themselves. And also, to segue into honestly what I really, really want to talk about, people post, for instance, I saw a post today and I already reached out to the user. He's working on a video game. He's some guy who English isn't his first language, and he said, I really had no interest in programming. I didn't know what programming was. I didn't know how to program a video game, but I just set out to do it, kind of learning as I went along. So here's what I got so far. After 2 years of work, they had some different GIFs or GIFs of his game running, and it went viral. And that's my favorite part of Imgur, is people who fall under this umbrella that my show covers, where we're all geeks about something. That's the motto of my show. We're all geeks about something, and I try to encourage people in their hobbies, or if they don't have a hobby, to find a hobby by having different people on the show and discussing different topics: astronomy, cars, whatever, video games. In this case, video games, the guy in Imgur. So he put his heart and blood, sweat, and tears into this project, and he put it up on Imgur, knowing full well that he was basically at the mercy of this anonymous community. And I love the way that this community, as anonymous as it might be, lifts up creators like that, lifts up artistic expression like that. A lot of people think that they can just post whatever on Imgur and it'll work. No, but I like it when people work hard on something, whether they're welders or whatever medium they work on. Imgur seems to respond very nicely to posts like that, and it's actually very encouraging. So was that something that you and your team, when you were setting up Imgur, did you have an idea that that's kind of the path it would go down?
We never really set out to go that particular path, but once we started to see that, our community was doing this organically, and they were telling us through their votes and through the front page content what they valued, we started to realize that just the way you said it, is one of the most special things about Imgur. It's sort of like you could be Barack Obama, or you could be a random person off the street. And depending on, what you're going to contribute to Imgur, it's really just all comes down to the content.
Right.
You know, Barack Obama in that instance, like, doesn't have a leg up because he doesn't have jillions of followers on Imgur.
Yeah.
Everybody starts in the same place at 0 points. And it's really, you get to prove yourself sort of through your story and through your contribution. And I think one of the really cool things is that if that does happen to go well in the way you described it, you know, you can really get yourself out there in front of tons of people.
Yeah.
And I saw that guy's post today too. It was so cool.
Yeah.
I gave it a staff picks trophy.
Like laser assault, or what was it called? I already reached out to him. He's coming on the show. He was self-conscious about that English wasn't his first language. And I'm like, dude, people, it's going to be endearing. People are going to love to hear that just because English isn't your first language, that you're still doing something that basically, Imgur is mostly an American website, would you say? Most of the traffic comes through the United States. So is that true, would you say?
Yeah, it's definitely large majority English speaking.
So people, when he comes on the show and speaks about his game, it's just going to be an encouragement to people. Like, it's he got his game in front of arguably hundreds of thousands of Americans now, and I told him, don't worry about shortcomings you might think you have, because people are going to appreciate what you put out there.
And I think, you know, from his perspective as a contributor, hopefully he thinks it's great that, you know, a bunch of people get to see his game and he gets to interact with a bunch of cool internet strangers.
Yeah.
But from our point of view, as just people reading that post amongst all the other ones, it's super cool to sort of feel the serendipity of all of that content that has been voted up by the community.
Absolutely.
You know, it's great to like check out this guy's gaming post. Then I swipe to the next post and it's like a funny cat video. And I sort of feel like all these different types of things together encompass this really cool community vibe that we have on Imgur.
That's really cool. I'm going to ask one quick question, and then we're going to get into Sarah, how you became who you are with Imgur. But real quick, to go back to a point you brought up earlier, you don't have to give out the name, but does Barack Obama have a Imgur account?
Oh, I wouldn't even know, because he could be any username.
So there you go. See,
I just used him as a random example off
Right.
the top of my head, but as far as I know, he doesn't have one, but maybe he does. Who knows?
Adam Savage from the Mythbusters, I know that he does. Have you spoken with him or done anything? Have you ever discussed doing anything with him? Because I know he's kind of active as far as celebrities who are really who they are on Imgur. He's pretty involved in the community as far as that goes. Have you spoken with him personally or anything like that?
Actually, I have. When he first started posting, I think it was 2015 maybe, and I happened to be planning this event called Camp Imgur, which was sort of this like giant community meetup here in the Redwoods north of San Francisco, where I'm from.
Yeah.
And I saw him posting, and I sort of wrote in a comment like, at Mr. Savage, like, please come to Camp Imgur. I'm a huge fan. I really totally fangirled over him being on Imgur.
Yeah.
And he didn't end up coming to camp, but it sort of like put us in touch. And so I wouldn't say I'm like close personal friends or anything, but we've communicated through email and stuff. And I definitely know that is the real him on Imgur.
That is so cool how you're part of an organization, a website that's able to connect people like that. I think he lives up in Northern California. I think that's where they filmed Mythbusters, the OG Mythbusters, back when it was on up there in San Francisco. So let's get to your story. We discussed a few weeks ago, we were trying to put this together, that our paths were kind of similar. In this whole story, what we're about to get into here is to encourage listeners, encourage other Imgur users to keep at it, to not give up, and not just in a kind of a stereotypical cliche way, but that if you actually do stick with something, you can actually see it through. When I graduated school, I went to a recording studio, and I interned at a recording studio. My degree was recording engineering, and then I went back for radio, television, and film. But at the time, I was at a recording studio before I went back for radio, television, and film, and wound up getting a job in radio. And Sarah, I thought your story was a little similar, so could you shed a little bit of light on what you did after school? Because that can be a very challenging time for a lot of people, even if you've graduated college. It's kind of like, now what the heck do I do? I've got this degree, but the universe is so horrifyingly open. What did you do after you graduated?
Well, I think my journey to where I am now actually starts from really when we sort of had a family computer in the kitchen that everyone used, and I would, dial into the internet. I think, are you my age, Johnny? Do you understand those references? Dialing in?
Yes, I'm 34. Mom, don't use the phone. I'm playing games. Yeah, I remember. Totally.
Exactly. We had to hang up. Anyway, so I had sort of this early exposure to the internet that allowed me to talk to strangers, join forums. And I found that was really where I came from, a really small town. So that was really where I sort of learned about things that I thought were cool and chose to explore them. And so as I was in college, I actually studied audio production. Yeah. I loved music. I still love music. And I wanted to sort of get into a career in helping people record music or even doing sound effects for film, something around audio production. And so I went through that course, all while at the same time sort of establishing social media accounts and learning the ins and outs of that and continuing my part in these online communities. Graduated, I moved to, New York at that time and did a couple internships in audio, in which I realized, which is always a sad time to realize after you've graduated, that maybe that's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
Moved back to my small town in Ohio and sort of ruminated on okay, what else do I want to do? What else am I good at?
Yeah.
And so I guess that's from there, it's sort of, so actually I should probably preface by saying that Imgur is a bit of a family affair. So it was originally created by my brother named Alan.
That's your brother?
That's my brother.
Oh, I just put that together. That's cool. My dad was named Alan, but keep going. I'm sorry.
It's a good name.
Yeah.
So right there in the same house that I'm talking about in this small town, and he was sort of putting it together from an engineering perspective and was like, hey, Sarah, can you help me talk to the people that are sending me emails and sending me tweets? And we sort of found out that we were this great dream team, really, of him being the technical engineering guy and me being the communications person.
Yeah.
And so as it evolved, I really fell into this role of, head of the community team, really based on all of that great experience that I had coming up with communications and all of that stuff.
That's so cool. How many employees does Imgur have now? Thereabouts.
So now we've gone from that bedroom in the small town to our office here at Imgur HQ in San Francisco, and we have around 70 employees.
Wow. I was telling my girlfriend, Sarah's not my girlfriend, everybody. We don't live in the same city, but I was telling my girlfriend, Sarah, that I was like, I think Imgur has a few dozen employees now, a couple dozen employees now, but it was started by Sarah and one other guy.
Right?
Yeah, well, several dozen, I guess, is more likely. That's really cool. 70 employees. I love stories like that. I've never heard the origin story of Imgur. I created an old account. I've got two accounts now. One of them I don't really use anymore, and then one that I created with my radio show moniker. But my first account I started, it was 2011. So where I came into it at 2011, where was Imgur at that time, do you think?
2011.
7 years ago.
I'm kind of bad with dates. So we were started 9 years ago.
Okay.
So I would say that at that time, we might have still been back in Ohio.
That's how, because I remember when I remember when you moved to San Francisco, it was kind of a big deal. You actually had offices, and I think didn't you have to move one more time since then, or expand it something? Did you have two different offices?
Well, coming from Ohio, I guess I should go back to the beginning of the origin story.
Okay.
We put out this website out there. It started to gain traction as back then it was simply as an image hosting solution. Essentially, we saw this problem on the internet where people really couldn't share images. Even saying that probably sounds like, how could that be possible? You can do that everywhere now.
Right.
But at the time, it was difficult to have an image, upload it, and really share it to a vast audience. So we would see that, if something went popular, the image hosts of that time would actually cut you off for using too much bandwidth. And so Imgur's original purpose was sort of to be that solution to just simply image hosting. But as the days, the months, the years went by, we actually started to hear from our users and our community. Okay. Things like, wouldn't it be great if I could see what was popular? We're like, actually, that would be kind of great. Yeah. Now then you have the front page, essentially. Wouldn't it be great if I could comment on these things? Wouldn't it be great if I could reply to others? Wouldn't it be great if I could vote? Yeah. And all of these early ideas from our users, from our community, really set us off on the path we're on now, which is to be an amazing entertainment destination. That
is remarkable. I like to think that I've been watching the website evolve and have a good grasp on it for the past 7 years. It was actually the radio station I was working at. We had to post things or viral things or get stuff on the station page, and there was a whole debacle back then with copyrights and all this stuff. And the producer I was working with is like, go to this website. It's this new website called Imgur.com. You can show you kind of what's going viral, and give you kind of leads to dig down for things to put on the website. But that was back in 2011. We had to clear everything. Let's say if I don't think I ever used any images from Imgur directly unscrupulously. Like, we had to clear it. So iHeart had to, or it's called Clear Channel at the time, had to clear these images to make sure that we wouldn't get sued. Everybody was protected, and it was kind of a big deal back then. You could share images on Imgur, but we as a radio station could not just copy and paste, because that would be bad news for Imgur, that'd be bad news for Clear Channel, that'd be bad news for the original poster. So I'm just saying, I remember at that time there was a whole big to do about ethics and how we can actually share images, and Imgur was blowing up as an image sharing website. So that's kind of where I jumped on board with Imgur. I want to know is what a lot of listeners might want to know. Sarah, other than running Imgur, what are you a geek about? You mentioned audio. What are you a geek about? And maybe, do you play any instruments? Have you been in any bands or anything?
I haven't been in any, band, yes. Okay. I played the flute in, high school band, college band, not a band. You know what I mean? Band.
Yeah, I was in band. Yes, I know what you mean.
Okay, yeah. Yes, of course. So I played the flute in band. However, I've never been in a rock band or anything like that.
You guys should start a band at Imgur.
Oh gosh, we do love karaoke here, so.
That's you know what? Karaoke is a good time, and I wish more workplaces would have. You have a karaoke machine just right there in your offices?
We do. It's not just set up for karaoke at any given moment, but whenever we do an event or something. It's there ready to rock. I would pay any amount of money that I could afford to see Sarah rock you like a hurricane. That'd be awesome. It's not a pretty sight. But karaoke is not probably what I geek out about. It's enjoyable from time to time.
Yeah.
But let's see. So I spend obviously a ton of time on the internet interacting with people day in, day out. So a lot of my hobbies are somewhat solitary, I guess. I love gardening. I like reading. I like going to the movies. I like binging Netflix at home with my dog.
Those are very worthwhile geeky pursuits. We're all, like I said, I fully believe this isn't just the mantra of my show, but we are all geeks about something. Sarah, thank you for being on. Is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with, or plug anything other than just go visit Imgur? Is there anything that Imgur has coming up that you might want to talk about?
Well, we're testing video upload right now, which is a huge new step for Imgur. Wow. Coming from image hosting days up to video. So I'm looking forward to hearing from the beta testers on Imgur. But I don't really want to plug anything. I just want to say thank you for having me on. And you and I connected to each other through a post that you made on Imgur.
Yes.
Which was really awesome. And it's really special for me to be a part of a show of one of our Imgurians. So if we have any other Imgurians out there listening, just thanks for being on Imgur.
Absolutely. I think that's the best plug you can give. Sarah, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. This is going to be so enlightening, and it's going to help a lot of people too, not to give up. I mean, we all have our hobbies and we all have our passions, and sometimes, and I'm saying this to the people who might not be listening right now, or who might be listening and going through some stuff right now, just to not give up. And they might be in a spot where they might be inspired. Oh, well, Sarah was into music. Maybe I should look into music or art. Or they might go to Imgur and find people who are creating video games, and they never thought that they might want to look into making video games. So that's what Imgur is all about. That's what my show is all about. That's why I think it was a perfect fit to have you on the show. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart for being on Geek Therapy Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
So that was Imgur's own Sarah Schaaf, and I, once again, thank her from the bottom of my heart. We learned all about her amazing website. It's one of the top websites in the entire world, as well as we heard some candid background from @Sarah herself. Listeners, if you're new to the show, and maybe a lot of you are now, I don't want your money. I don't have a Patreon. There's no way for you to give me money, even if I wanted you to give me money. All I want you to do is like, follow, and subscribe to the Geek Therapy Radio podcast. When you're searching for it in whatever device or application you're using, it's just Geek Therapy Radio with Johnny Hemberger. And honestly, just share it with your friends, with your fellow geeks. And guess what? We're all geeks about something, whether it's sewing or airplanes or astronomy or video games or painting, whatever it is. You've got a friend who's a geek because you're a geek yourself about something. Maybe you're into muscle cars and you don't think you're a geek because you're a big macho dude. Guess what? You're into muscle cars. You're a geek about cars, just like me. And real quick before the break, for our new listeners, this is what Geek Therapy Radio is all about. There's so much division in the media. There's so much division on social media. Everything we consume is about dividing. Geek Therapy Radio is about what brings us together. Whether you're liberal or conservative or white or purple or green, it doesn't matter. We're all geeks about something. So I like to say I draw a circle in the sand instead of a line in the sand. And that sand is an oasis in the desert of rhetoric. So just join me here on Geek Therapy Radio. Let me know what you're a geek about. Let's bring a little bit more joy to the world. Let's bring some passion. Let's find some hobbies that we can get into that helps us through the depressing times of our lives, the mundane times in our lives. There's no problem with going home right now after work and buying a set of Legos and playing with Legos. We're grown men and women. We can do what we want. So that's what I encourage people to do here on the show. Stick with me. We'll be right back with more Geek Therapy Radio while we're in the commercials, which you won't hear if it's a podcast. But in the meantime, follow this podcast, like, follow, and subscribe all the social media, Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook, Instagram, Geek Therapy KPRC on Twitter. Oh yeah, and of course, Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube. But like, follow, subscribe. We'll be right back in just a minute with more Geek Therapy Radio. Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. Still your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger, here with you in Houston on the phone line, the landline phone line, not Skype, but landline from New York City, NYC, and I'm assuming Brooklyn. I've got Louis on the line, and he knits. And I've kind of halfway joked on the show before that, my show is all about being a geek, and that we are all geeks about something. We all have our hobbies, we all have our passions, we all have these things that we're into and these dreams. And I've said many times on the show, whatever you're into, whether it's cars or video games or programming or even sewing. And I kind of said, I need to have someone who sews on the show, someone who knits on the show, so I can actually showcase it. So I found Louis online. I think I saw you on Imgur, actually. I'm not sure if you're aware that you went viral today. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I've been going viral a couple times with a lot of the short documentaries that I've been doing lately.
Yeah, so it was little video clips of a documentary. Who filmed you recently? What was that from?
It was actually from Attention. It's a social media group that does these short little documentaries on individuals, and they reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, we'd love to interview you," and I was like, "Let's go for it."
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that was earlier Actually, I think it was late last week, if I'm not mistaken.
That's cool.
So,
Have you been getting a lot of emails and calls and stuff since then?
Dude, it's been quite amazing, man. I every time this happens, it's just I get a lot of emails. I mean, from around the world, and I had no idea that this reached across the seas.
Yeah.
So to get emails from around the world and just people lending their love and support, man, it's quite awesome.
Yeah,
it really is.
God bless you for that, man. I'm gonna kind of. What stuck out to me is probably what sticks out to a lot of people, and I'll let you explain it in your own words even better than me. When someone first looks at you, they probably don't associate you with being a master at knitting, but from the video clips that you're sitting on the subway, you're hanging out doing all these different things, and you're knitting these awesome garments and awesome clothing and awesome beanies and all sorts of just really cool things. So tell the listeners here in Houston, here in H-Town, if I could say that, here in H-Town, what you are all about.
Well, H-Town, let me tell you. So my name is Louis Boria, and I started Brooklyn Boy Knits about 10 years ago. Basically, where it all started, I had a dream, literally. I woke up one morning from a dream 10 years ago, and in my dream, I was just knitting away, and, all I saw in my dream were my hands working with yarn and knitting needles, and I woke up laughing because I literally woke up that morning with my hands in the air, and I said, maybe I should learn how to knit, and I just couldn't get that thought out of my mind the whole entire day. I go to work, I'm telling the girls at work what was happening. They're all laughing at me, joking lovingly. Mm-hmm. And I went that day, and I went to my local Michael's Arts and Crafts store, bought some yarn, some needles, and I came home and I jumped on YouTube, and I started teaching myself how to knit through instructional videos through YouTube, and I've never stopped. I've never stopped knitting. Yeah. And it's been quite a journey. I will tell you, we think of typical grandma, aunties, mom knitting, and it is a predominantly female craft. And I was in the beginning, I would say the first 2 years of me knitting, I was a little embarrassed, and because of the stigma that's attached to knitting. But I realized that my commute to work, every day it's about an hour or 15 minutes to and from work, and I was wasting my time, dude. I was wasting my time on the train, and knowing that I had a project in my bag, and I was just afraid of, what were people going to think of me, and and it being, typically a female, craft. I didn't want to be linked, and I didn't want to be tagged as such. Right. So I realized it was all in my head. And slowly but surely, that project started coming up my bag, and I didn't care, and I realized that there was a sense of freedom once I let go of those fears and realized that it was always me. It was not even people judging me, because if anything, I had males, females coming up to me and just kind of commending me and telling me, "Wow, how awesome it is to see a guy knitting. What are you making?" And just the questions that would come out, and realize that I was getting more support than anybody just judging me.
See,
and it was awesome.
See, that is exactly why I wanted to have you on my show this week, is because, like I said, we're all geeks about something, and you should never fear your passion or your hobby. So you're saying you're sitting there on the train doing whatever on your commute, and you were afraid to show the world your hobby, but once you did, you were met with such love and such affection, and it kind of spiraled into this big thing that's, I think you probably agree, that's even bigger than yourself. And what you're doing right now is inspiring so many other people to pursue their hobby or their passion, because guess what? There's a lot of people in this world who might be depressed or battling with depression or going through some hard times, who aren't aware that if they found a hobby, or if they would just get back into an old hobby that they may have, forgotten about or put down for whatever reason, that it's a huge help to as a path towards happiness, a good, clean, worthwhile, meaningful path to happiness. So I just think what you're doing is amazing. Louis, this is kind of a short segment. I want you to be able to plug away anything that you want listeners to go check out your website, what you got going on. So
yeah, absolutely. You guys can check out my story. I have tons of media on my media page on my website, which is brooklynboyknits.com. You can find me on Instagram under brooklynboyknits. Brooklyn Boy Knits. I'm on Facebook as Brooklyn Boy Knits and Twitter also. But before I do leave you guys, I just want to say one thing, and it's really important that all your listeners tune in right now. And just don't give up. Just don't give up on your dreams. Don't give up on your passions. And I know it sounds cliche, but honestly, just follow those dreams to no end, because you never know where it can take you. And take it from me, I'm just a regular guy that likes to knit, and who knew that I would come to a place where, that my craft brought me to a great place, and to give back is so important. And, getting connected with the community is even more important for me. So I encourage everybody just to really go out there, dig within yourselves, search within yourselves, find that passion, and just bring it to light.
Preach, man. I mean, I'm going to have you on the show again. I don't want to cap. I don't want to cap what you got to say to this little 8 or 9 minutes here. I'm going to have you on for, who knows however long we're inspired to. I don't want to stifle what you're saying, because it's
no, I get it.
it's not just about the knitting. It's about the entire message.
Man.
And there's a reason I have you on the show today. So that's everything you're doing is beautiful. Louis, thank you for being on Geek Therapy Radio this week.
Thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me, Johnny.
Welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. I'm super stoked to have this next gentleman. I saw in a post that I quickly upvoted and favorited, and I immediately reached out to him because he's creating a video game. And I just think that's really, really cool. So all the way here from Barcelona, Spain is Giovanni. Am I pronouncing your name right?
Yes, perfectly.
Good.
Hello to everyone.
It sounds like you are right next to me through the miracle of Skype. So, like I said, I don't want to take up too much of your time. What is the name called, by the way?
Rocket Assault.
Rocket Assault. And
yes.
It's still in development. Is there anywhere that people can go to maybe play a demo of it, or are you still working on it?
Yes, the webpage is rocketassault.com. And a beta is coming in July. So everyone that subscribes there will get a free beta.
So everyone who subscribes at rocketassault.com, I'll put that link down below the podcast. Everyone who subscribes on the website, you're saying that they can get a copy of the game now?
No, yes, it's a beta in July.
Okay.
In July, they will get in the mail a beta key so they can try the game.
Okay, so the beta, they're going to get a key for the beta that is coming out in July.
Exactly.
Great, that's wonderful. How long ago did you start working on Rocket Assault?
2 years ago, always in my free time because I have a full-time job, but I decided to make a game, and I wanted to try and starting looking on the internet how to do it, and I started doing it and didn't stop.
What is your normal full-time job, real quick?
Yes, I have a job in Argentina because I'm from Argentina. Okay. I'm living in Barcelona, but I work for there. So my work hours are from 12 a.m. to 12 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Wow.
So every morning I wake up 6 in the morning and make games until I have to work.
That's so cool. So, does your job have anything to do with technology, or were you just already pretty good with computers?
IT, something like IT.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, there's plenty of IT over here in the United States as well. So you're already kind of technically minded for computers, obviously, since you work in IT, and you said that you've never made a game before, so you just started reading on the internet how to make a game.
Yes.
What software and what engine is Rocket Assault using?
Unreal Engine 4. It's free for development, so it's easy to start with it. They'll take money if you get money, so 5% of the revenue of your game, but for starting the development is free. So that's a good.
So you're using Unreal Engine 4. You said the controls are a lot like Rocket League. Is there anything, have you talked to Psyonix at all, or was there anything that Psyonix made available to you to kind of use that control scheme, or did you just make it all up yourself?
I tried to contact them, but they didn't respond in any way.
Okay.
But anyways, I tried to copy the gameplay because it's really nice, it's really well done, and I took advantage of that. But I made a different game with those controls that I like.
I love that. I saw all the previews that you posted up there on Imgur and on the website. I love the way the game looks. I can't wait to play it even in beta in July.
Thank you.
It looks amazing. I love kind of it's like a mix. Well, I'll let you explain it in a second, but I really love that kind of the real world, well, quote unquote, real world physics from Rocket League. You can adjust the physics how you want. But I like the fact that it kind of looks like, I'll let you explain it, but it kind of looks like Rocket League, but it's a racing game. That's really cool. And I'll let you tell everyone kind of what it is now. So go ahead.
Yes, it's the game is a racing platform game with a lot of action on it. The car is really fast and shoots rockets.
Yeah.
It has the same control configuration as the Rocket League, as we said. And the car can jump, double jump, and do crazy areas while shooting rockets. And if you play it correctly, you feel like a really badass doing neat stuff. Like you feel like you're doing crazy and fun stuff that, I don't know, it just feels good. I don't know.
So basically what it is, to help you out, you speak really well, but just to clarify even more, it's kind of like Rocket League, but you're racing and you can fire rockets. That's why it's called Rocket Assault. So you're on a track and you can jump and double jump and do all sorts of somersaults and flips while you're, what it looked like to me, like you're firing missiles through walls or doors to open up the doors in front of you, like as you're going really, really fast and doing flips. And apparently you can play 2-player or maybe versus a computer, and they're shooting at you also. Is that correct?
Not yet 2 players, but yes, the computer shoots at you and you have to dodge the rockets. I don't know if you know the game Trackmania.
Oh, Trackmania. Yeah, Trackmania, yes.
Yeah. I think it's a mix of those games, like Rocket League and Trackmania.
So I was going to say, I was already thinking...
Go really fast, get to the end, but in the middle you have to shoot rockets and jump and dodge stuff.
It looks really cool to me. Already in my head, I was thinking that it reminds me of Rocket League, Trackmania, and Super Mario Kart. If you combine all those 3 games together, that's Rocket Assault, and I cannot wait to July. I'm gonna go subscribe to the website right now, and like I said, I'm gonna put a link below the podcast. So however people are listening to the podcast, go to you said rocketassault.com. Is that right?
Yes. Yes, exactly.
Rocketassault.com. Sign up and subscribe so that you can get the beta key in July. And do you hope to? We'll end this segment here, but do you hope to sell it on Steam maybe one day?
Yes, at the end of the year we're hoping so. Also, the next week we're starting a Kickstarter campaign at May 31st. So to raise money and try to speed things up in the development of the game, because in my free time it's like taking forever, but
right.
We want to speed things up.
So if you go to you said it's Kickstarter. If you went to Kickstarter, when does that launch again?
May 31st.
May
31.
May 31 on Kickstarter. I'm assuming you can just search for Rocket Assault, May 31st on Kickstarter, and go contribute whatever you can. I'm sure if you contribute different amounts, you'll get different things when the game comes out. That's usually how it works. Well, Giovanni, it was awesome having you. I love Skype. I love technology that we can talk like this from literally across the planet. That's really cool, and I wish you all the luck in the world. That's amazing.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity and for your interest.
No problem. Giovanni, have a great day. Thank you for listening to Geek Therapy Radio this week. On the way out, I have some very exciting news for those of us who love The Simpsons or loved The Simpsons, because The Simpsons is, in my opinion, long past its glory days. And its glory days, by the way, was any time before the early 2000s, I would argue. Any time after, let's say arbitrarily 2002, Simpsons sucks. I don't have time to get into it, but Simpsons has not been good for a while. But old Simpsons was absolutely, unequivocally amazing. Futurama. There's lots of Futurama fans out there, me included, and I think just universally, start to finish, even with that big break in the middle between making episodes, Futurama has been consistently amazing. Every single episode, every single season, every single year, Futurama was perfect start to finish. Matt Groening, his new show is officially announced. It's released on Netflix on August 17th. Matt Groening's new show, the creator of The Simpsons and Futurama. The show is called Disenchantment, and it's kind of like Simpsons Futurama style thing, mixes with Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones type of universe. So I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be really cool. My eternal thanks to Sarah from Imgur, Louis Boria from BrooklynBoyKnits.com, and Giovanni, the creator of Rocket Assault. Go visit his website, RocketAssault.com. If you like this episode of Geek Therapy Radio, it'd be so awesome if you subscribed to the podcast and shared it with everybody. And go to GeekTherapyRadio.com to let me know what you're a geek about, and I'll talk about it on the show. I love you all, my geeks. Don't be afraid to love yourselves as well. I'm your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger, and I will see all of you next week.